Engineers Without Borders Canada is obviously an international development organization. And so I had a background in global trade and commodities and all that kind of stuff. And that brought me to look at mining as a means for economic and social development and how we could add value in that space. So I pitched the idea of doing a program focused on the local procurement of goods and services to Engineers Without Borders, and they kind of incubated me. And the reason why I picked procurement was because at the time, nobody was really talking about procurement as a main sort of extractive industry governance piece. In the last 8 years since I started this initiative, I mean, we've seen a drastic increase in community conflict, in rising expectations, in governments wanting a bigger piece of the pie, so to speak. EY just came out with their third survey in a row, annual, that showed that social license to operate is the #1 risk facing the mining sector right now. So it's a different picture than it was 10 years ago. And so mining companies now really have to make an effort to do things like local procurement, local hiring, making sure that revenue that they spend in country for taxes actually gets back to the community in some way. They have a much larger role to play, and those expectations are only increasing. Well, I mean, procurement of goods and services is sort of, in a way, the ultimate social license tool. You're creating huge benefits at the local level if you do it. You're creating allies because local suppliers and businesses want the mine to succeed then. Many of the big conflicts you see between mining and communities, sometimes those stem back to disgruntled suppliers or disgruntled community members who feel like they didn't get a proper chance to take part in the value chain. So procurement is a real means to help industry be welcomed by communities. And so that's sort of why we have a bit of a win-win relationship with mining companies. We find actually that lots of mining companies are they're doing their best in their own kind of constraints, but a fresh set of eyes helps a lot, bringing in the community and local stakeholders like a chamber of commerce, a local government if it's got the capacity, really kind of opens up new opportunities. And the other thing about procurement is that a lot of these issues and goods and services that you want to target, they can only be handled in a multi-stakeholder fashion, right? You can't have the mining company provide the finance, for example, for a local business to buy a new machine. I mean, that's got to be a finance institution generally doing that. So you need an all-of-system approach, and you need someone else. You kind of need someone to bring that together. ESG is really focused on what companies are doing to prevent problematic practices in their suppliers, what they're doing to conduct procurement without contributing to corruption or bribery and that kind of thing. So right now, if mining companies cannot demonstrate that they have systems in place to mitigate these risks, like supplier problems, it's a huge risk. It's a huge risk. And one of the reasons why we created the mining local procurement reporting mechanism with GIZ was to provide companies sort of a standard template so they can provide this information